West Tigers clash against the Dragons at 5:30pm at Cogra this Saturday. Gary, Steve and Rob are all in the house. What's going on? We've got a full house of chairs for a Tuesday. That's an unusual surprise.
Yeah, we're still in mourning. Still in the same clothes.
Yeah, haven't been home yet, mate. I just sat here depressed for 2 days.
Well, you look a bit fresher. You look like you've had a haircut or something.
I've had a haircut.
What else have you done besides mourn in the last 48 hours?
Other than a 100-metre HIA try from Bradman Best, I'm fine otherwise.
Gary, you surprised me a little bit on Sunday night because you're usually like Adel. You're usually quite positive, but you were hinting a couple of times that you thought our season might be over. Like 48 hours on, are you still thinking the same?
Yeah, I think we're highly unlikely to play semi-finals football this season. A loss this weekend writes it out completely in my book. But, yeah, I don't see us making the semi-finals from where we are now unless something drastically changes in the next 2 weeks.
Steve, you made a couple of good points on Sunday night. You said it's not easy half an hour after a game, and you say some strong things. I think you called us a half-assed club, and we've thrown away the season, and we've got no attention to detail. Do you stand by all those things?
Yep. Yeah, so it's hard to do a pod 2.5 days after a loss too. I'm figuring out. Yeah, it was like I'm wearing my 25 cap, 2025 cap.
Get the 24 one ready.
Yeah, on purpose because we played on the weekend like we did in 25. Like we were controlling the game. It was a game we should have won, but those pivotal moments we threw them away. So yeah, that's last year's stuff.
Before we get to the game, a couple of events on Saturday. Rob, Summerhill Hotels in action again.
Yeah, we had a watch along last Sunday. And we've got another one this Saturday afternoon. We'll probably the crew will be there about an hour before the game. Our game's at 5:30, so if you get there about 4:30, there should be a big crowd. Given most pubs have got a bit of an atmosphere on a Saturday afternoon with all the other extracurricular activities going on. Josh will be there. I think Gary's going to be there, and Shane will be there. So
I wonder if that pest will be there dressed up as in the Dragons gear this week.
I'm not sure, but when he screamed out, "Stick your podcast up you know where," I kind of had an instant knee-jerk reaction. Wasn't good.
And Steve, I believe you're going to the game, and the West Tigers are trying to get some fans together pre-game.
Yeah, well, like if we were saying last week was the match of the season, and if that wasn't, then this has got to be this weekend. And the Tigers, the club are taking that as such because they're going to put on a pre-game function. So if you're going to the game, as we are, a whole lot of us from the ambush are going out there, and as many as we can get out there, we're going to meet at Beverley Park Golf Club at 2:00. So from 2 to 5, the club are going to put on a bit of food for us all. They're going to be there to have a chat. Sean will be there, I'm sure. And then we're going to walk over to the ground together. And the club have got a designated West Tigers Bay. So if you go to Ticket Tech and you plug in 26 away, 26 AWAY, as the code, you'll get access to the tickets in West Tigers Bay, and that's also a 10% discount. So the Tigers are going to need us out there, guys. So let's get out there and have a win.
You going to be there, Gary? I might go this Saturday. I like Cogra. I haven't been there since 2004, but I've got a couple of mates that follow the Dragons, and we penciled this game in at the start of the year as a blockbuster, July 4 blockbuster.
Cogra triggers me a little bit. I was once alive in the doubles when we lost 52-0 and had to sit there and watch that whole game in the rain. So I don't go to Cogra too often. I get a little bit triggered by that ground.
Is that the game in the rain where it was about 24-30-0 after about 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Gasnier scored 4 tries.
Correct. I had Gasnier as first try scorer and Moody as the second try scorer, as the first try scorer for the Tigers, and had to sit there until full time just in case he scored to get my $100.
Well, doubles on the main game. That's something I was only a kid on the hill of Leica, but that was so popular on the hill of Leica.
It was popular. Never won one, but we always used to buy them.
Goes without saying, this game's a must-win.
Yeah, it's huge. We've been talking all year about maintaining that 50% record. I even think the 50% record is out the window now. We need to win 4 out of our next 5. You think about it, if we end up 50%, that's 12 wins, 24 points, 3 buys with a crappy for and against. That's 30 points. It's not going to get us in. We need to be above that 50%, which is why the Newcastle loss was absolutely huge. And I've started looking at even the other 4 games this weekend, and I'm starting to think, oh gosh, we need Para to beat Manly. We need the Dolphins to beat Newcastle. We're already starting to get into that, mathematical possibility stage. And once you start thinking that, it's no good. But again, we actually do need some of the lower teams to win. We just don't want St George to win this week.
The problem with that Newcastle loss, what it does is it's a game that we should have won. And that's what's critical to me about it. You can't lose games that are there to be taken. And it doesn't matter whether you're favourite in that game was there to be taken and we didn't take it. And that's what hurts our semi-final chances because you can't give up games that you should win.
You asked me the other day, Eddie, you said, have we made progress? Are we moving forward? And sort of reflected on it, since Sunday night. You know what's really scary about last week is we lost that game the way we've lost games in the past. Like it's all right to get up there, and I don't want to bag Benji because I'm a real fan of his, but it's all right to talk standards and talk about changing culture and talk about toughness. But on the weekend, there was absolutely no excuse not to win that football game. They didn't come out and play like Grease Lightning, right? They were bog average, and we didn't win the pivotal moments that we needed to win. This was so soft underbelly West Tigers that we've seen in the past. And that's coming like to your question now about are we going to make the 8? That's what's scary because I'm now not confident that we're going to win the games we should win.
I don't overly think it was soft underbelly that we've seen in the past. What it was for me, it was disorganisation.
Correct.
And we've seen that a lot as well. I think all the players out on the field had a genuine crack and we didn't see guys who didn't put in. Defensive errors, especially on that last try, could have been much better. But for me, it was disorganisation that I saw that was most worrying, not so much a soft underbelly coming through.
And that's what we had earlier in the year. Like I, on the group Discord thing that we've got with West Tigers Life, I was mentioning the South game. Felt like we were camped in the red zone there for ages in that game. We had a lot more opportunities in this game. It was very similar to that. We do really well till we get to the quarter line. And I don't mind I do mind, but I don't mind if we can't score, but we look like we're playing with purpose and we've got a specific design play. But even though it's not the same game, we're talking about have we improved or not. This is similar to our first round last year against Newcastle at Campbelltown. We lost 10-8. Newcastle made a bunch of breaks and dropped the ball a few times, and we just looked like we were playing for in cricket terminology, rain or a draw. We just didn't look like we wanted to play footy. And even, I know it rained Sunday, but it didn't rain in the first half. And we were still playing wet weather football. I just think, like Gary said, we are not organised when we get to the other end. We'd never set up for a field goal, which everyone is obviously talking about now. It's just, that's where I get disillusioned because you see some games where you think, okay, well, we've got a plan. And look, we did have a plan. We played Taruva in the centres and we shuffled things around. So there was purpose in who we were going to choose and who we were going to play. But once you get down that other end, you think, well, what's the point of all this hard work? And can we just keep relying on effort after effort after effort when we don't have the finesse to actually get past and score and get rewarded for the hard work that we do? Because, everyone was saying like it was a bludger of a game. I think the Newcastle game in round 1 last year was a bigger bludger.
Yeah, it was horrible.
We actually played really well till we got to the other side of the field. It was Newcastle making the errors. They were the ones going sideways. They were the ones throwing the ball around in the second half and giving us opportunities. But we're just not good enough to take it. And that's why I said we didn't deserve to win.
But where the mental, the soft underbelly comes, and that for me, it's in our mental toughness. Whenever we are in a position where there's an expectation on us, like we're favoured. Like you talked about when we get up into the 20, where some teams just put on a try like that. Like they just spread the ball and score in the corner every time they're there. Whenever there's an expectation of us getting over the line, we don't do it. Whenever we go into a game as favourites, well, not every time, but most times we go into a game as favourites, we blow it. There's this mental block. It's like when we're expected to do well, when we have to man up mentally, we're not capable of it.
Look, we're going to have trouble scoring in the red zone when you have a look at what our edges are at the moment. We're second string in the second row. We're second string at centres. That's what the issue is in attack. The disorganisation I'm talking about is probably our best attacking player over the last 3 or 4 weeks has been Jerome Luai. We kept going right. We didn't go to the guy who could probably break the defence open. And when you have guys like Taruva, and no disrespect to Taruva, he's a fantastic winger, but when you have him playing in the centres, that red zone with the defence right in front of you becomes a lot more difficult to penetrate when you don't have the quality in the centres that we would like to have. And that, for me, coupled with the fact that we didn't go to where our strength was, that's the disorganisation. That's why we end up losing that game, because we didn't play enough to our strengths. Now, Adam Dewey is definitely a strength in our attack. His running game is fantastic. He had a really good game, but we were just far too imbalanced on the weekend.
Yeah, see, I would say the first half, our game plan was in the quarter line. Let's just wear them down and put a bomb up to Skelton. That felt like that was the plan. Let's time in possession, wear them down, we'll get them at the back end of the game. But can you honestly, any of you tell me what we were trying to do in any set of 6 down the other end in the second half? Like, was there a kick with purpose that was actually designed? Was there a run on the last play that was designed? There was not one set of 6 where it looked like we were working to something and executing something. And that's where it comes back. You summed up perfectly. It's disorganisation.
But we executed tackles 1 to 5 really well.
Yeah.
We just didn't execute the last tackle.
And it's okay. I think I said it the other night. It's okay to end your sets in the corner and keep the side pin down there. But as that game kind of petered out towards the end, we needed to go a bit more attacking, or at least set up for a field goal to give us some kind of advantage going into that final 10 minutes.
All right, well, there's a big reaction to our show on Sunday night. I think there are over 40 YouTube comments. So I'm going to pick a few of them out at the end of the show and just try and trigger the boys. But let's get to the preview first. Put the West Tigers team on the screen for this Saturday. Couple of surprises. Jerome Luai ruled out with a delayed concussion from Sunday's game, so Jock Madden takes his place in the halves. The centres will be Makasini and Toa with Tito Taruva back on the wing. Alex Twal, a big inclusion at lock. No room for Maverick Geyer on the bench. Rob, your reaction to that team?
Happy to see Stafford Toa in his rightful position as centre. As Steve mentioned in the green room, he's got a great record against Valentine Holmes. So if he's right centre, he'll be opposite Valentine Holmes. So that's a good matchup. I'm really not sure if that's going to end up being the formation given what we did last weekend against Newcastle. But it's about as good a team as we could have named. Disappointed Samuel is not back, obviously, but happy to see Alex Twal back. And obviously, I'm a bit of a Murray fan. I'm happy to have Murray there ahead of Geyer, even though I accept that he's a much smaller man than Maverick Geyer.
All right, well, this is for the trolls out there and for Rob Jr. I'm going to pretend you're Rob Jr. for a minute. Junior, it's good to have our first choice halves on the paddock for again.
Do I start swearing?
But honestly, I mean, your reaction to that team, Jock Madden, there's some people that probably think, is Latu ever going to get into the halves? I mean, Jock and AD, to be fair, those 3 or 4 games they played at the start of the year, they were combining well. Yeah,
well, when you go back to those 3 games, this is the obvious selection to make, considering that Jerome's out with concussion. I will. So I think it's the right selection. That's the first thing. But I will say that I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the way we are developing Latu and the opportunities and the lack of opportunity. I don't know what the answer is. Well, yes, I do. The answer is to put him back in reserve grade, which is what Gary has said. My argument against that was, well, he's part of our top 19, so he's got to be there at the moment because we're so down on troops. But I am now a little bit worried that he's not getting the development he needs.
Is he part of our top 13 coming on and playing a hooker role and a little bit of that lock role in the role we've seen him in on the weekend?
17, you mean? 17.
Well, 17.
No, not the way he's playing. No.
Especially with...
Well, no, not the way the impact that he's having.
And especially the way Lanyon's played in his first 2 games. I think he gives you a really viable option in that role. And I'm still surprised that... Look, I think if Latu isn't picked at half this weekend, which he hasn't been, we picked Madden, then I would have him playing reserve grade this weekend.
Yeah, I disagree, boys. I would have Latu on the bench because if Jock Madden goes down or Adam Dewey goes down, you need a half that can replace him. I don't care if he doesn't get a minute. I agree with you, he shouldn't play hooker when he comes on. I've got no doubt there. If you have to use him as a bit of lock for whatever reason, I can live with it. But it does hurt his development, as both of you guys are saying. For example, if he's on the bench this week and next week and doesn't get a minute, but geez, if one of our halves goes down and Latu's playing for the freaking Magpies, I'll lose my shit.
I do temper that a little bit now that I remember that Luai's not playing this weekend.
Correct.
And the fact that we've had to put Madden, but moving forward, I'll be playing Madden in that bench half backup role.
It is ironic a little bit because Jerome's been excellent, I think, particularly the last month. But you talked about having no game plan sort of last week. I think this is almost like a combination which gives us a game plan because Adam, I assume, will be that running 6 and Jock will be the organising 7.
We all said it pre-season. Well, I definitely said it anyway. Jock, even though he's like the fourth best half in the club, he's our only true game manager at the moment. Latu would be there if he has a voice. I don't think his voice is strong enough to be the general, to be the number 7. But, I don't want to trigger my son, and it's because I would always have Adam and Jerome there. Granted, they're both 5'8", but we are 3 from 3, I think, with Jock and Adam in the halves, and God help us if we're 4 from 4 and then there's a change made next week. Everyone will be losing their shit. But look, you can't not have them there. But the thing, everyone raves on about, we won with Jock and Adam, so it's got to be Jock. What Jock does is actually frees up Adam's running game and goes into his true position at 5'8". He does dig into the line. He does straighten our attack a bit more. So Jock makes Adam better. That's the difference. And when Adam's the main guy at half, he can't make himself better. He's got to do it, from first receiver.
Yeah. What he does is he gets Adam deep and allows him to get one-on-one with a defender and able to use that really good footwork that he has to beat a guy on the inside. That's what Madden does provide for Adam this weekend. And instead of him getting the ball with the defence up in his face, he's got a lot more space to use that footwork.
You know what else Madden does? He gives good early ball, and when he was feeding ball on the left in those 3 games earlier in the season, we had Samuela, causing havoc on the edge, which unfortunately we don't have at the moment.
Bit of a shame. I thought he might be a smoky to play this week, Samuela, because there were some whispers coming out, but good to have Alex Twile back at lock, obviously.
Great to have Alex Twile back at lock. Just in terms of his minutes, if he's fit, let's hope he's not another late withdrawal again. The limp looked pretty heavy late last week at a captain's run. But, yeah, he's irreplaceable. Unfortunately, we've got 5 or 6 guys that if one of those 5 or 6 are out, we're in massive trouble. Guys like Appy, like Buller, like Adam, and he's another one. And obviously Samuel is another one as well who's not there. But, yeah, wonderful to have him back, and he will certainly stiffen up that middle.
That back line, there's been a reshuffle. Macassini at left centre. That was a big debate on Sunday night, but Benji's keeping the faith. Does he have any other option there?
I don't really see another option there at the moment. With Taylor May being gone for the season, I have to guess, I haven't heard anything from the club. Macassini's probably going to get a little bit of time in the centres between now and the end of the season. I can't see who else you can put there on this weekend.
It's probably fair that Taruva goes back to the wing because as good as a clubman, as much as I love him, he does struggle in the centres.
So am I me or am I still Robbie?
You can be whoever you like.
So I'll be me, and I'll say, "G'day, Robbie." I'll be
He's
me.
He's tuned out now because we've bagged Luai.
Yeah,
I didn't bag him, by the way.
Right. I'm glad to see the team picked the way it's been picked on paper. I want to see Taruva back out on the wing, and I think Strathfield at centre is our best at right centre is our best option at the moment.
It's a hard one though because the football we've seen out of Star playing on the wing the last 2 weeks has been outstanding. He was one of the best players on the field on the weekend, and I do have concerns about him going back to that centre role, defensively especially, this weekend. I did like him on that wing.
I'll tell you what I do find interesting just in the outside backs there. We're presuming Taruva on the left and Skelton on the right, which would mean Skelton would be marking up on Sloan. And I just wonder, because Sloan will get, if they kick him behind Skelton, Sloan will get past him every time. I just wonder, because Taruva has played right before. Am I
yeah,
correct?
He's mainly right. In fact, I think he will be right. So, I think Skelton will go back to the left.
So that would make more sense to me, yeah.
The bench, Rob, can you see anything different this week? Obviously, someone will have to play Maverick Guy's role, but you're not a fan of Terrell playing 80. Will Terrell play 80 again?
He'll play close to 80, and I'm not a fan of it again, and he's going to end up being our Aaron Woods, like how he was at the back end of his career. I hate it, but again, that's for Benji to sort out. Fanua Bole's doing a good job off the bench, so I think Alex Twal being there, playing bigger minutes, takes more pressure off that bench, so maybe Terrell could get a little bit of a rest at some stage a little bit earlier, but we can't have him being a pinball, getting bounced around all game and being shown up late in both halves.
The improvement on that bench is Twal being back. It pushes Alex back onto that bench into a role where he can play less minutes than what he has been playing the last couple of weeks. I think the last couple of weeks he's played quite good football so far. I thought his first stint on the weekend was really good up until he made that first error, and his second stint he had a couple of errors. I think being back in a role where he can play smaller minutes coming off the bench fixes up our bench a little bit.
All right, the Dragons will put their team on the screen looking for their first home win of the season. fairly experienced spine they've got, consistent all year. Flanagan and Atkinson in the halves, Gutherson at fullback, Damien Cook at a hooking role, ex-Tiger Jacob Adel there on the bench. Rob, they've got a good, promising young forward pack. Dean Young, obviously the interim coach. Your reaction to their season? I mean, they're a one-win side, but they strike me as better than a one-win side.
They started the season okay for they had 3 respectable losses. They had a Golden Point loss in Vegas against the Bulldogs. They're up by a couple of scores against Parramatta in round 3 or 4 and threw that game away. They were going all right, but then once the rumblings came about Flanagan, the coach, they kind of just caved it in. They knew, well, there's a chance we can get rid of him here, and it just seemed like they dropped their bundle. You mentioned their forward pack. They've got a really good forward pack. They've got some backs that can hurt you if you're not up to it defensively. They've got a couple of weak links as well. But, they're the sort of team you want to get on top of early. If you give them confidence and they stay in the game, it'll be awkward for us to win it. So I'm not putting this in the win basket at all. And even if we do get ahead by 12 or whatever, I'm not writing them off, especially at home, especially off a heartbreaking loss that we had at Newcastle.
It's a diabolical season on paper. One on the ladder, 1 win and 14 losses and a minus 255 differential. But if you look at their last month, Steve, they beat the Broncos, which you could say is no mean feat, but that was in Brisbane. They led the Sharks at halftime in Cronulla and then got turned over in the second half. They should have beat Newcastle in Newcastle, lost by 2. And then I would argue they should have beat Canberra. They got an absolutely shocking call by the bunker last week in Canberra. So the last month, they're in every game.
Yeah, they are. I watched the game. I watched the game back this morning against Canberra, and I can't. If I was a St George supporter, I couldn't be enthusiastic. They're very slow. They're very pedestrian. I don't think Canberra are nowhere near the team that Canberra were, which is shown by their spot on the ladder. But look, I think they've got Holmes, they've got Sloan on the left edge. That can be dangerous. Gutherson jumps in there, comes from fullback, jumps into first and second receiver and pushes the other guys a little wider, so they can get numbers if Gutherson. But Gutherson on his own is not a threat anymore. He's not fast. Cook is not a threat anymore for the same reason. I think their biggest point of attack from an individual perspective is Jacob Little when he comes on. Like he's still sharp around the ruck, and he's torn us apart before. Jacob Little, I've got a lot of time for him, so I think that's a good, that's a good area for them. But honestly, geez, for us, if we play our game, disciplined, hard football through the middle, we cannot lose this game. Surely.
The big thing for me with St George is, you're right, they've been in a lot of games all year, but they take themselves out of games. They'll come up with a poor pass or a poor error. The amount of times I've seen one of their halves throw a loose pass and an opposition player pick it up and run 80, 90 metres this season has been a lot. So for me, what you have to take advantage when those opportunities come, when they start to play themselves out of the game, because they will at some point play themselves out of the game.
You said, Rob, probably the strength of their team is that young forward pack, and they've got a couple of dangerous players out wide, but their spine's fairly pedestrian. I know they've got some good players there, but Cook's towards the back end, and Gutherson looks like his knee's busted, and Atkinson and Flanagan, whilst they're good defenders, they're not exactly going to light you up.
Yeah, Gutherson's a great player, but on ball tyres, like he just doesn't have the knees anymore to cope with it. I don't think Cook's as bad as you're making out there. I think I've seen Cook do some good things this year, particularly Magic Round against Penrith.
Not the player he was.
No, of course he's not. No, he's about to be moved on too. Like this is his last year before he goes to England. What bothers me is Flanagan had a shocker last weekend. I can't imagine him having 2 shockers in a row like that. Like he threw a couple of poor passes. He put a kicking goal for a second tackle over the dead ball line. For a 7-tackle set. They've got enough there to hurt us. Where I think they could trouble us, even though I don't rate guys like Feeney and what have you. When you look at our left edge with Sione Fainu, like not being great defensively on that left edge, coupled with Makasini, who missed half a dozen tackles last weekend. I'm glad that's not Holmes and Sloan on that side. But I think, they can get us on in a number of different ways. And with a home crowd that's desperate for a win, this is the sort of game when we're heavy favourites that we tend to lose. And that's what scares me.
Luai being out really hurts that left edge as well. He owns
sets the line speed.
Sets the line speed, identifies the plays that are coming. He owns that left edge for us. And we're now missing Taylor May, who is quite a good defender, missing Jerome Luai, who is an excellent defender as a half. you're right. That left edge is a real worry defensively this weekend.
Joxione, Macassini, that's scary.
I can't. Yeah, look, I just can't go with you guys on this one.
Good.
I'm saying if our line speed,
you're allowed to be wrong.
No, we hope you're right. We don't want to be right.
We don't know what that's like.
You think we're morals?
No, I don't think we're morals, but I think if we play to the standard that we can play, and I'm not 100% confident we will, but if our lines line speed is everything against St George. Like Flanagan, like you said, he's not going to have two bad. Who said that? Not going to have two bad games.
I can't imagine.
What's his best game and his worst game? Like they're not too far apart, really.
I think if you throw a couple of intercepts, you're wary of throwing that crazy long pass the week after. That's what I'm trying to say. He might just tone it in a little bit.
9 times out of 10, he runs across field, turns it inside to a runner coming back in. If our line speed is quick, we put him under pressure. We put Atkinson under pressure. We put Gutherson under pressure when he jumps into the receiver role. The way we were defending earlier in the season with that quick, aggressive defence, there is no way they beat us.
If we play our best football with the side name, we win this game.
Yeah.
So both teams play the best football, I think we get away with the win. I'm really worried that we're not going to play our best football. We didn't play our best football last weekend. We haven't really played our best football in a couple of months now. That's my concern going into this game.
I'm worried about that too.
You've got to score more than 6 points. That's why I can't, to quote that American commentator in the soccer, that's why it's not a layup. It's going to be a tough game. There's no easy games in the comp. And, Canberra struggled to beat them last week at home. We're playing them at their home ground.
It's their Leichhardt, really. Cogra, it used to be anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
What type of game, Rob? I know you're big on game plan and you weren't happy with the game plan last week. Do we have to be careful not to just be 2-1 out and down the middle because they are frail defensively on the edges, St George?
I think, we can beat them in a number of different ways. I think our go-to game plan is forwards, Appy forwards, giving it to Twal on the line, giving it to Terrell May on the line, just, rumbling forward and then trying to set Adam up with a key play or Jareem Buller off the back of some shape. I think we're a pretty simple football team, and while that works against teams that aren't great, so we probably stick to that style, but when you play, the teams in the top 8, like your Newcastles and what have you, you've got to come up with a little bit more than such a simplistic game plan. But I think we will be ultra simple this week.
Yeah, I think we'll see a similar game plan to what we saw last weekend. I think we'll play conservative football. We have to be much better in the red zone. I also want to see, we saw it earlier in the year, a shift to the right where Madden actually slides across to the right and gets Adam Dewey out wide. From about 40 to 50 metres out. I think that play worked really well when these two halves were playing together earlier in the season. So I'd like to see us implement that around the middle of the field instead of just going that one out the entire way. A bit of variety would be good.
So I'll channel my inner Robbie again and go statistically. Statistically, the St George their right edge folds chronically. Right, that's where teams are scoring their points against them. Last week we went right all the time, which would be down their left, which is not where we want to be going all night. So it'll be interesting to see what Benji does and the coaches do at training this week to address that. So maybe we're going to get Adam skipping across to the left as well because we need to hit their right.
I think Jock will be first receiver both sides of the ruck.
Yeah, I do too.
When we're attacking, I think that's going to be the way we see it.
And I'll actually think instead of Adam going across the left, I think you play Jareem Buller play that role.
Yep.
And I think that's where we can damage that right edge of theirs. That combination between Buller and Macassini, I think, has to be on Saturday. That's an opportunity for us. Macassini needs to be much better than he was last weekend, but I'm hoping that this could be a game where he starts to build a bit of confidence back.
All right, well, Gary's got the Mirko matchup of the week this week, looking to transform your home without the stress. At Mirko Renovations, we don't just renovate, we bring your vision to life. Whether it's a modern kitchen, a luxury bathroom, or a full home makeover, our team delivers high-quality craftsmanship with attention to every detail. Mirko Renovations handles it all.
Yeah, we're looking at the spine this week, and planning this on the way in, I was a lot happier than I am right now when we had Adam Dewey and Jerome Luai in those positions. Jerome Luai being out, especially on that left edge, especially with the frailty of St. George on their right, is a massive out this weekend. Madden has performed well, but I am not a fan of Kyle Flanagan. I think he's one of the poorer halfbacks in the competition. So I still give us the points in that spine, in that halves comparison. But I'm not as confident as I was before I saw the team.
I'd expect a bit of a bounce-back game from Appy this week because he's his own harshest critic. He looked pretty down in that press conference after the game.
Yeah, that was a one-off from Appy. And I don't think Appy played badly. He just had a couple of noticeable mistakes, a drop ball and the incorrect play the ball. He'll dominate, hopefully. That's what we need. He'll own that game around the ruck, especially given Jerome's not there. It's really going to be, I think, Jock at first receiver, sort of being the general with Appy. But Appy's the guy that gives us our yardage sets. He's the one that works us out of our own end, and it's really the halves that take over when we get on into the other team's half.
And Alex Toll being back takes a lot of pressure off Appy for two reasons. He helps drive the line speed, but he's also the guy in our club who probably runs the best off Appy. He's the guy that hits the ball at the advantage line. I think a big part of Toll improving over the last couple of years is the fact he has Appy to run off, and Appy gets him a lot more one-on-one situations. So I expect to see the fact that Toll's back a better game from Appy.
Outside back matchup, Steve's. I guess they've got some players that can hurt you in open space, like Tyrell Sloan and Val Holmes, but they've got errors in them. I mean, Val Holmes has had a shocker of a year.
Yeah, well, he has, but you're right. Like he can put a step on. He did it last week, right? He did it last and got around his man, so he can do that. So I can see them going to Holmes and Sloan. We're predicting that's going to be Toa and Taruva. So I'm confident they can be up for the job. I think Taruva will turn and chase Sloan better than Skelton will. So I'm hoping that's going to be what it goes down to. On the other side, yeah, I don't know. I think we've got them covered. You know, if we defend well, I think we've got them covered. We've just got to get up in their face, fast line speed. Don't let them get around us.
Your favourite player, that Fee guy, is he playing? You said he's the worst player in the NRL.
I think he's
Who's
one
up
of
against him?
Macassini, and that's
surely
why
it's his first NRL try this week.
I won't say it'll definitely be the left winger's try if we have dry conditions and what have you.
Left centre.
Yeah, he's left centre, but I mean, you know, he'll beat his man, and then hopefully he can draw Setu or whatever the right winger is for Saints in. But it actually would be a good game for Macassini. Needs some confidence. He looks so down on confidence now. He did some good things the other day, so I'm not going to just, you know. But unfortunately, those 6 missed tackles, that was really poor.
So Tutu and Sloan, they've got errors in them, Gary. But they can't. I mean, Tutu's a damaging ball runner out of his backfield.
Yeah, he is. But you're right. I think we're going to get errors from St. George. I think they've shown most this season that they, as I said earlier, they will give you an opportunity to win the game or play themselves out of the game. We've got to take those opportunities when they come. When those errors come, we've got to take advantage. Unlike last week where we got error and opportunity after opportunity and we just didn't take advantage of it. We can't do that this week.
Anything different, Steve, you want to see from our forward pack this week?
No, I just want to see. I agree with what Rob said. Just we need to be disciplined. We need to go forward. We need to win the ruck. Right, fast play the balls. Get Appy running the players through the ruck, and then give our outside men opportunities, especially going down our left, their right.
They're a pack that I think it doesn't strike fear into you looking at some of them play, but I think they're suited to the modern game. They're not the biggest bodies, some of these young guys, but I've been impressed by them. I know they're not getting the wins, but they do get themselves down the field.
I think they've got a lot to look forward to in the next couple of years. I think they can have an instant turnaround with guys like Drinkwater and Metcalf coming to the club, you know, Connor Watson for a stopgap year. I love their young forward pack. The Couchman brothers are great. Egan's great. Stewart there, Hamish Stewart. They've got a lot of good players there, but they're not going to – I don't think they're forward pack. They're hard-working, and they've got a little bit of skill there as well. We're going to have to wrap up the ball carry there. They've got some offloads as well. I just think we've got to get to a point now. We can't be thinking of winning games 12-6. And we've got to take advantage of all the good work we do and, you know, build up a bit of a buffer because you are going to miss tackles. You are going to drop balls occasionally. And we've got to realise that in the modern game, we've got to score 24, 30 points most of the times to win games. Can't be holding an opposition even to 12 points, even as miraculously as Newcastle got their second try. Keep them to 12 points and lose a game is awful.
Those A and B defenders are going to have to be on their guard because Cook and Little both love running the ball.
Yeah, though I'm a lot less worried about that this week with Toll being back. He stiffens up that middle of our defence a lot. I think you'll see a lot less compression with him there. So hopefully, yeah, we should be able to contain them.
Well, Steve, you're predicting an easy victory, so I don't think I have to ask you. Rob, I think it's going to be something like 24, 26. I don't know if we're going to win, but I think it's going to be go down to the wire.
Given how we're playing, I might even go lower this week. It should be what you're saying. I'm hoping for an 18-12 sort of win, maybe 19-12. I will put one caveat. If Twal withdraws again, I'm going to tip St George. That's how disappointed I am in our lack of attack at the moment and the use of our bench.
Yeah, I think we can get away with it. I expect us to win. It's a game we should win. I'm nervous about this game. I worry about our form over the past month, but it's not going to be a high-scoring game. If we win, I think we're scoring 20 points and keeping St George below that.
All right, let's go to the YouTube comments from Sunday night, my favourite part of the show. Going to paraphrase some of these guys who made a comment. Sorry if I get the names wrong. Anada Selman. Steve, he said Coach Adel was spot on. I think our season is over. Macca can't defend. Guy gives away too many penalties, not first-grade standard.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. Maccassini's miss on what's his name?
Dom Young.
On Dom Young.
Multiple times.
Multiple times. But for the try, that was horrendous. When I went home and watched that was a terrible miss. Sione wasn't much better, mind you. Gaia is not up to stand yet. We said that. So, yeah, what he says I tend to agree with. Is our season over? Not mathematically.
A worry when that word comes into the equation. Rob Murray, F9005. West Tigers don't do must-wins. Its normal transmission has been resumed. Another season down the toilet. It's been rinse, repeat the last 16 years. I mean, that's sort of a reaction you get half an hour after the game. I'm the same. But do we have to be a little bit guarded not to get too negative, even if the season is starting to slip away, based on what the squad did over the first 3 months?
As supporters, we've just got to put this, old newspaper. That's it. It's done. We've got to look forward to this week, try and get the win, not try and think about our situation. But I definitely feel as upset as him. If anyone hasn't listened to the West Tigers faithful, listen to Reedy and Mac yesterday. Mac summed it up perfectly. He was asked how he felt, and it was disillusionment. And that's how it feels right now. Like it's just another year. It's more that missing the finals another year. And worse than that, you see so many teams going poorly this year. Like last year's top four prior to last weekend were all behind us on the ladder. You don't know how they're going to go next year and how we're going to be next year. So this just seems like a missed opportunity year. It's not over. But my reality is we've got to win 4 out of the next 5. And as Gary said, if we lose to Saints, well, we're mathematics still in it, but I'd forget it.
Speaking of the mathematics, because I like the mathematics, I saw a expected ladder based on, I imagine, the odds this year. And we were coming 6th on that expected ladder. We were predicted to win, I think, 6.5 games so far, and we've won 7 games. So I guess my question is, fans like you and you and you, do you get overexcited and you build up these expectations which are unrealistic, and then when we revert to the mean after we have a few injuries and we have this middling season where we're going to come 9th to 13th or something like that, that's where most people expected us to come?
No. Do we get overexcited? Yeah, we do. Of course we do. We're fans, right?
Well, Junior called us a top 4 squad after 8 weeks.
Well,
so did I.
But after 8 weeks,
that's ludicrous.
The way that no, it's not. That's not ludicrous.
It is ludicrous.
The way
I'll
the
have
team,
my right of reply after.
We all want to go.
The way the team was playing, the personnel we had in that squad was of a top 4 standard, without a doubt. Like we didn't fluke it when we beat the Warriors over there.
I'm not saying we did, but most of those guys were back out there against Newcastle last week.
Well,
and we should have won.
Yeah, okay. So
no, we didn't deserve to win. You said that.
I said we didn't deserve to win, but we should have won.
But what's happened between then and now is a stack of injuries, right? An absolute stack of injuries, playing players that we shouldn't be playing in first grade that are getting bashed up because of it, and that's what's happened. But at that point in time, absolutely we were a top 4 squad.
And you know me, I'm a positive person. I always look at things glass half full, unlike you who smashes your glass against the wall. Even now, I'll sit here now and I don't think we'll make the finals this year, but I still try and look for ways that we can.
But that's actually the thing. I'm actually trying to be positive. I actually think we're having a decent season, where some of these comments are saying, oh, rinse, repeat, another season down the toilet, half-assed attitude. I actually think based on our squad, we're doing okay, and we're going to lose some of those close ones.
And what I'll say is where we were 2 years ago, I'd rather be where we are now than we were 2 years ago. So I don't. I'm always going to, when we have a good start to the year, I'm always going to get up and excited about it because we've had a side that hasn't played semi-finals football in 15 years. I'm going to take any joy from this team that I can get and any excitement from this team that I can get. And if the wheels fall off like they did in the middle of this season, then I'll address that when that happens. I'm not going to sit there and worry, the wheels might fall off. I'm going to enjoy the wins when they come.
Where I'll admit to disillusionment is what I thought the roster might be, given how our starting 17 was and getting to 5-2. Okay, and when I say 5-2, should have been 7-0. Okay, we should have been 7-0. Now, when you've beaten half those teams, your Brisbanes, your Souths, all these other teams, I think it's fair for me to think with close to our best team on the paddock that we can play semi-finals football. We're at least a top 4, maybe a top 6 teams. If I know everyone gets injured, but the problem is, Eddie, we had key players getting injured. Adam Dewey was probably leading the Dally M's or close to it. He got injured.
And was genuinely in State of Origin conversation.
Yeah, we've lost. We had our back row out the other week, the whole back row.
Yeah,
Twala, KPP, Samuela. We've had Appy missing for 3 weeks after we got to 5-2. So I will say that I will admit that I was disillusioned because it's been since proven we don't have the depth, and some players, you know, like your Latus and like your Macassinis, they could do with some time in Cup, but we can't afford to put them in Cup right now. So I'll give you that much in terms of the depth of the roster. But in terms of where this team playing its 7.5 out of 10 footy is, it's a top 8 team. It's not even a non-negotiable. It's not even arguable. You can't argue and say to me there are 8 better teams than us when we've got close to our full team on the page. You can't. It can't. Mate, well, we will kill Newcastle. They were at full strength. And we're missing plenty.
It's a one-off game, though.
Okay, it's a one-off game, but St George nearly beat them the week before. Newcastle aren't that good. Yeah, but they've played Saints twice in the last 6 weeks. They've, played other teams that are pretty crappy. I don't think they're all that.
And we got them earlier in the year when we had our full strength.
Because what I'm seeing from other teams, and this is where I keep harping on last tackle options and what we do in the red zone, our forwards pack is bloody good when we're at full strength. There's not many teams that can match our forward pack. There's probably 3 or 4. And that's it. Newcastle aren't a threat this year because they don't have a forward pack. You can have all the glamour and glitz in the back line, unless if they had a bit of our grunt, yeah, they could do one. If they had our pack, they could win the comp. They're hopeless. They don't have our pack, and that's what Penrith show every year. When they get to the finals, they run over you through their forwards. They don't have star-studded backs. They just dominate you through their game, and you play their game. But
that's the point I made the other night. You were talking about finding another middle. We get Sione out of the edge and get him back into the middle rotation, and that forward pack matches it with any forward pack in the competition. We buy another middle for next season, for example. We are really flying.
And this is being hypercritical too, guys, of Benji, and maybe it's fair or unfair for me to say it. We've discovered that Bunty Afoa, as long as he's there with Appy, is not a liability to start the game. He can come on and do a job at 15, 20 minutes in the first half.
I'll be starting him again this week.
And the way he finished off that game last week, now we've basically had him in cotton wool all year because we didn't have faith in him. Now, maybe Benji put Bunty in the same basket as Charlie Murray and Maverick Guy, but I think if we'd have known that Bunty Afoa could do that job off the bench and have him and have Hunt and have Sione, suddenly you don't have to play Terrell for 80 minutes. You don't have to play 12 for 80 minutes.
I don't think he wanted. I don't think he wanted Bunty and Hunt in the same 17. That's now whether that thinking is right or wrong, but that's what I think it was.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want them on the field at the same time as well.
And Bunty did get an opportunity a little bit earlier in the season. Had a really poor game. His form the last 2 weeks I've been very happy with. I'll be starting him again. The fact that when you start Bunty, you can push Pole back to the bench. Pole's played his best football in the last couple of years coming off the bench for us. And where I'd like to see us look at our roster is a starting middle so Pole can be that bench prop next season.
Steve, Balmain Burko said, not sure what this season will do to Macassini. Perhaps should be scoring 3 tries a week in SG ball, wrapped in cotton wool for a year. This might toughen him up or it could break him.
Yeah, well, I think we don't know the answer to that because we don't know the kid. We don't know him intimately, so it might toughen him up. But I think most people would be of the opinion that we are in a position where we are playing too many players too early or giving too much first grade time to players that still need to be developing their game, perhaps in cup. I definitely don't think ball or flag for someone like that. But yeah, I think in cupfish would be ideal. But we just don't have the depth. And the thing that does concern me, right? This is to your point, Eddie, and where I'll agree with you. It does worry me that as we get through a season, we get to this time of the season, we always look busted. We always look like we're out on our feet. Like we start the preseason, best preseason ever. We look fitter than most. We start off with a bang, and then and as the season wears on, as teams like the Roosters get stronger and stronger and stronger, and like the Panthers tend to be like that, we just tend to fall off a cliff. Now we've had injuries, big time, but are you guys worried? Are you worried about our ability to actually last a season?
That narrative's been put out for many years now. I think this year is different. I do agree that injuries have hurt us a lot. I think it just shows we've got a lack of depth. But I think this season's different for one reason. Most of the time, whenever our team's gone out on the field, I expect to win or go close to winning. And I think we've got a really good team when we've got our best team. Now, if you said to me last year or the year before, when we're playing well, or we've won even just one game in a row or two games in a row, I don't feel confident about winning. But I felt like this team was a bloody good team. It's just a little bit more top heavy. Like we still don't have that. No club has, depth down to player 27 and 28, but like we sometimes don't look like we've got it down to 21 or 22, and that's where it hurts. But our 1 to 17 is a lot better than it's been in the last 5 or 6 years.
And depth takes a lot longer to build. Like it's very hard, especially. I think I said to you on Sunday night, we got guys who are on decent NRL contracts who should be depth players. A guy like Toa's the prime example. He's got to be on $400,000, $500,000, possibly $600,000 at our club, and he really should be your backup guy coming in. And to clear that and to fix that takes time. And you also need young players coming through who you can have on those smaller contracts, who are on $250,000 to $300,000, and that takes time to build, especially when your pathways have been pulled apart over the last few years.
Steve, Glenn Hayak, and I think there was a little bit of back and forth here with Claws Out podcast. I don't know if that's you commenting or Josh or one of the boys.
I know exactly what he said.
And he said, I love the experts, so much playing experience between all of you. And he went on to say, I think Rob replied, and he said, agree, we need to be better. AD and Jerome being injured, need to get back into rhythm a bit. But I don't know. I feel like it would be a boring world if only people who could comment on rugby league had played 200 first grade games.
Yeah, well, look, I actually
commented on that as well.
Yeah, I replied
on your personal account.
Replied to this bloke as well and said, it's an opinion, and I'll do it straight down the camera. It's an opinion, mate. We are fans who have an opinion. And the fact that we get on here and do this enables blokes like you to have an opinion. And which we're happy. You can agree, you can disagree, whatever you like. But if you want us to shut up and not do anything and close the pod down, well, what are you going to do for the 20 hours a week?
I think it's hilarious that, Glenn wanted to make sure, by the way, that he told the whole world that he's had a hit up. So he's done a hit up in rugby league.
I like Glenn.
Okay.
I don't know him, but I like this guy.
Yeah, but that's wrong because, I've been watching the game for over 50 years, and it doesn't mean I can't judge or I can't have an opinion. Let me put it this way: I'd back my ability in selecting or anything over Laurie Daly in anything. And now he's one of the greatest Origin players we've ever had. But the point is, you don't have to be a player to understand the game or know the game. And the hardest thing about this is when you have to be honest about players' performances, you do come across as critical. I'm not going to sit here and say, Macassini was great and he was great and it's all right. We were the better team the other day and we lost 12-6. It's just not acceptable. And we love our team, we love the club, but we've got to be honest in what we think. And if we're not honest in what we think, no one would be watching at all, wouldn't they?
And we're not always right.
Of course we're not always right.
Only one of us thinks he's always right.
But if you're not allowed to have an opinion about a football player because you haven't played football, then how can this guy have an opinion about a podcast if he hasn't done a podcast?
I think it's interesting, though, Rob. It's like the new media is a term in the US, but I think like we're a podcast for the fans. And podcasts with players or people that are in the game at the moment are actually quite boring because they roll out cliches and they can't say much. And like Gary said, we're going to have some opinions that some people think are shit or whatever, but I think, at least I hope, people find it interesting because it's raw, and we don't just try and sugarcoat things, or we're not backed by the club or anything like that. So I think we get on and we.
Going back to West Tigers Life and previously West Life Pod and all these things, I can tell you the most common thing I get told or get
is that you're wrong.
Is compliment, except for Gary, is that you say exactly what we're feeling and we can't say what you're feeling. Like the fact that I've criticised, the previous CEO and the previous, chairman of the board and all that sort of stuff. Like, you're saying what we're thinking, and that's. But, it doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm just saying, like, that's what resonates with people is that we're not here just blowing sunshine up the club's ass and, we're going to be right next year and next year and next year and we haven't made the fucking finals for 15 years. Like, that's what hurt about Sunday night. It was just that realisation that, you know what, now it's getting a bit of a stretch. Like, if we'd have won that game, we're 2 points behind Newcastle. Maybe Manly might lose to Parra this week because they're missing Kohler and Olakawadu. Like, you start hoping, like 8 teams have to lose every week, don't they? But I'm starting to think now, unless we win 4 or 5 out of 6, I don't know how we're going to make it. But we do have a good draw. We got 2 St George games. We've got a Canterbury game. We've got a Cronulla game. We've got a Parramatta game. Who knows if Penrith are going to rest players? We can beat the Cowboys.
That's not a good draw though, because you just said we're going to get done by St George.
I said if Alex Twal's out, I'll change my tip.
And look, if you disagree with anything, especially me, I won't speak for the other boys, but if you disagree with something I say, tell me. Jump in the
Gary
chat.
will just argue back.
Yeah, mate.
No, but
I love being told I'm wrong because I get to argue.
There's lots of opinions. Like even the boys last night on West Tigers Faithful said it. Like there's lots of opinions out there saying Buller didn't, have a great game, whatever. And I thought he did an outstanding job, but I know he can be better in attack and pass the ball a little bit later or we can use him a little bit better. But clearly the game plan wasn't to be fancy. It was to be very ABC with our game plan. And then when all these guys start bagging him on social media, I think, okay, you're entitled to bag him, but out of the 17 players that played the other night, is he the first person you're going to bag seriously?
And the guy's coming back from a dislocated shoulder. He could have really quite easily pulled the pin on the season and not come back. He's come back. I'm very happy with how he's playing. What is it, 2-3 games back from a dislocated shoulder?
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd be playing the way he is now 3 weeks ago.
I do want to trigger the fans and trigger Eddie about Dream Buller, though. I want you to go back and watch the last try, okay, because when Dream Buller drops that ball, he does get back and make the chase to try and stop the try, but the first thing Dream Buller does when he drops the ball is pulls Kalen Ponga up from the ground because they thought the play was going to stop.
That's interesting. I didn't notice that.
So go watch that, and now you can get really triggered.
It's a big week, Rob, as usual. Hero Raw. Well, speaking of opinions, we haven't seen Adel for a week. I saw his South Logan Magpies had a win, so he'll be happy on Sunday. They won 20 points to 14, but he's going to be a guest with the girls on Thursday because the NRLW have their round 1 clash.
Yeah, they do. So he's going to be on. I think they'll air at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. That'll be good for the girls to have him on board. We haven't heard from Adel for so long now. Not sure what they're going to talk about, if it's strictly NRLW or if it's going to be a little bit of NRL.
He didn't say much about our game on the weekend. I know he was at a wedding, but was he disappointed or you don't know?
He hadn't watched the game because he actually... So I'll tell you what he did. I put my phone on silent during podcast. He actually rang about 10 minutes before the end of the podcast. As usual, he got triggered by all the comments about Buller and he wanted me to put him on speaker, okay, and put the phone to the microphone like that. And he wanted to tear everyone a new one. I said, mate, you haven't seen the game yet. So, why do you want... He goes, they just give me the shits. And I'm like, well, don't look at social media.
Steve, you're out there on Saturday.
Yep.
It's Bexley Golf Club, was it?
No, it's Beverley Park
Beverley
Golf Club.
There is a Bexley Golf Club out there.
Yeah, you're right.
Beverley Park Golf Club from 2 p.m. The club are putting on a bit of a feed for everyone. So get out there and have a chat and a beer before we go and watch the Tigers smash the Dragons with or without 12.
All right. Well, if you can't get out there, go to the Summerhill Hotel because there'll be a watch along there for West Tigers Life. Thanks for listening and viewing again. We'll see you on Sunday for Close Out.